Chapter 1. Dying once was enough. I die quietly the first time. No witnesses. No apologies. Just exhaustion settling into my bones until I don't wake up again. That's what my first life teaches me. Endurance doesn't save you. It only delays the end. So when I open my eyes and realize I'm breathing again, the first thing I do is stay still. The ceiling above me is unfamiliar. White, clean, expensive. I sit up slowly and look around. A dorm room. Not just any dorm. Blackwell Dominion Academy. My stomach tightens. I know this place not from memory, but from narrative. From a BL novel I skimmed once and never finished. An elite private academy where power mattered more than rules, and poor characters existed only to be used up quietly. And I know who I am here. Rowan Hale. A scholarship student. A background character. Someone who doesn't survive the story. I swing my legs over the side of the bed and press my feet to the floor. No, I say under my breath. Not again. I don't need love this time. I don't need justice. I need to stay alive. I adapt fast. I keep my grades perfect. I don't party. I don't drink. I don't draw attention. Professors like me because I'm reliable. Administrators forget me because I'm quiet. I work nights at a bar off campus to cover what my scholarship doesn't. I study during the day. I sleep when I can. I don't complain. When people argue, I step between them calmly. When someone is scared, they stand closer to me without realizing why. I don't threaten. I don't shout. I hold the line and let others back down first. This always worked. Until it doesn't. The email comes halfway through the term. Subject: Housing reallocation notice. Polite words. Empty meaning. Due to administrative restructuring, my dorm placement has been revoked. I am advised to make alternate arrangements. No replacement. No appeal link. I stare at the screen for a long moment, then close my laptop. I still go to the housing office. The woman behind the desk smiles professionally when I explain. These things happen, she says. You understand. I do. If I push, my scholarship gets reviewed. If I argue, my conduct gets flagged. So I nod. Thank you for letting me know. That night, I pack my things. I tell myself it's temporary. By the end of the week, I don't have a bed. I nap in the library between shifts. I wash up at the gym before dawn. I keep everything I own in my bag so I don't leave traces behind. It's exhausting, but familiar. I've lived like this before. The difference this time is that I know exactly how the story ends if I'm careless. So I make myself smaller, quieter, invisible. What I don't realize yet, what I can't realize yet, is that Blackwell Dominion Academy doesn't miss patterns. And somewhere inside its walls, someone has already noticed that I endure. Chapter 2. The room that notices you. I don't remember deciding to sleep in the club room. I only remember realizing I'd already been doing it for days. It's warmer here than anywhere else on campus. Quieter. The building is old, tucked away from the main walkways, and students don't wander in by accident. The furniture is expensive but unused, like it's meant more to exist than to be lived in. I tell myself that means it's safe. I sleep on the far end of the couch. Shoes on. Bag under my arm. I wake at the smallest sound and leave before dawn. I don't touch anything I don't have to. I survive. That night, I wake before I hear anything. The sensation comes first. Pressure. Not on my body, around it. Like the air has shifted. I open my eyes. The lights are low. Lower than I left them. Someone is standing near the fireplace. I don't move. The man is tall, dressed neatly. His posture relaxed in a way that doesn't belong to someone who just arrived. He isn't looking at me yet. He's watching the fire like it's been there long enough to hold his attention. I close my eyes briefly and breathe. When I open them again, he's closer. Not suddenly. Deliberately. He takes a step, then stops. Like he's measuring the distance. I sit up slowly, keeping my movements calm. I didn't know anyone used this room, I say quietly. The man turns his head. He looks at me fully now. His gaze moves over me in a way that feels less like inspection and more like confirmation. You sleep lightly, he says. His voice is calm, even. Too certain. I tighten my grip on my bag. I won't be here again, I answer. He doesn't respond right away. Instead, he steps closer. One step. The space between us shrinks. You say that, he replies. Like you believe it's your decision. I stand. Not abruptly. I don't want to give him that. I don't want trouble, I say. He studies my face, my posture, the way I've angled myself toward the door without moving toward it. You don't cause trouble, he says. You absorb it. He steps closer again. Close enough now that I can smell his cologne. Something expensive and restrained. I shift my weight. You're standing too close, I say. He stops. For a moment, I think he might step back. Instead, he tilts his head slightly. If I were closer, he says calmly, you'd already be gone. That's true. The realization tightens my chest. He hasn't touched me. That's the problem. What do you want? Ask. He doesn't answer immediately. He looks past me toward the couch, toward the place where I've been sleeping. How long have you been here? He asks instead. Long enough, I reply. A corner of his mouth lifts. Not amused. Interested. You don't beg, he says. You don't explain. You don't ask for permission. He steps closer again. Now there's nowhere for me to move without brushing past him. Most people would. He continues. Especially in your position. My pulse is loud in my ears. You don't know my position, I say. He looks down at me. Rowan Hale, he says. My breath catches despite myself. Scholarship student. Night shifts. No housing assignment. Each word lands carefully. Placed. You shouldn't know that, I say. He leans in, not touching, but close enough that the wall behind me matters. I know much more, he replies. Silence stretches. The room feels smaller, warmer. I feel something dangerous rise in my chest. Anger. Instinct. The urge to push back. To tell him to move. To remind him that I am not small. My fingers flex at my side. The silence stretches too long. I don't like it. I shift my weight and step to the side, angling toward the door. I keep my voice steady when I speak. I'll leave, I say. Now. I move to pass him. He doesn't grab me. He steps once, just once, into my path. Close enough that I have to stop or collide with him. I stop. The space between us disappears. Not because he touched me, but because there is nowhere else to go. No, he says calmly. I look up at him. You don't get to decide that, I reply. That earns a reaction. Not anger. Interest. He lowers his voice when he speaks again. You think leaving is movement, he says. It isn't. I try to step around him again. This time his hand comes up. Not to grab. To brace against the wall beside my shoulder. The sound is soft. Final. I freeze. He leans in just enough that I can feel his breath. If you push past me, he continues evenly, you make this something it doesn't need to be. My pulse hammers. Move, I say. He doesn't. You're very close to rebelling, he says almost thoughtfully. I can hear it in your breathing. His gaze drops to my hands, curled at my sides. Do you know what happens next? He adds. When someone like you decides to test someone like me? I don't answer. Because I know. Because I can feel it. He straightens and steps back at last, removing the barrier. The pressure doesn't leave. It just changes shape. Not tonight, he says. Sleep somewhere else. I hesitate. Then I step past him. He doesn't stop me again. But as I reach the door, his voice follows me. Quiet, certain. This room remembers who it belongs to, Rowan. I leave. Before that I heard him say, not until you are mine. My legs don't shake until I'm halfway down the corridor. Only then does the truth settle, heavy and unmistakable. He didn't stop me because he couldn't. He stopped me because he wanted me to know that next time, he wouldn't step aside. Chapter 3. Power is quiet. The girl's name is Mira. I don't know her well. I just know she's on scholarship like me. She sits 3 rows ahead in comparative ethics and always takes notes like she's afraid the page might disappear. I hear them before I see them. Laughter. Low. Confident. I slow my steps as I turn the corner near the administrative wing. 3 boys have her backed against the wall. They're close enough that she can't move without brushing into one of them. One of them is speaking. Loud enough to be heard. Soft enough to be deliberate. Relax, he says. We're just talking. Myra's hands are clenched at her sides. Her eyes are fixed somewhere past them, like she's trying to disappear. I step in calmly. That's enough, I say. All 3 turn to look at me. One of them scoffs. And who are you? Someone who's telling you to leave. I reply. I don't raise my voice. I don't threaten. I just don't move. There's a moment, just a second, where I think it might work. Then one of them smiles. Do you know who my father is? I do. They walk away, not because I scared them, because someone else saw. Mira is shaking. Thank you, she whispers. I nod. Go. I tell her. Now. She does. I'm called to the chief executive's office before the day is over. Dr. Eleanor Graves sits behind her desk when I arrive. My phone is in her hand. She doesn't offer me a seat. You caused a disruption, she says. I stopped one, I answer. She looks unimpressed. Those students filed a complaint, she continues. They felt threatened. I almost laugh. They were harassing another student, I say. Allegedly, Dr. Graves replies. She sets my phone down on the desk and folds her hands. You're on scholarship, Rowan. That means you are expected to exercise discretion. So are they, I say. Her eyes harden. They have discretion, she replies. You have conditions. Silence settles. The girl has been asked to withdraw. Dr. Graves continues. Effective immediately. My stomach drops. She didn't do anything wrong. She made herself visible, Dr. Graves says. That's the same thing here. I feel that familiar pressure in my chest. Anger. Control. The urge to push. And me? Ask. She studies me for a long moment. That depends, she says. The door opens behind me. No knock. Footsteps cross the room. I don't turn. I don't need to. Dr. Graves does. Her posture changes instantly. Mr. Blackwell, she says. Hector's voice is calm when he speaks. Is that his phone? He doesn't wait for permission. He takes it from her desk and places it in my hand. His fingers brush mine for the briefest second. Intentional. You're done here, Hector says to me. Go wait in the clubroom. I hesitate. Dr. Graves opens her mouth. Hector looks at her. That's it. No words. No threat. She closes her mouth. Of course, she says. Hector's hand settles at the small of my back. Not pushing. Guiding. We leave. I sit alone in the clubroom for a long time. Too long. My phone buzzes once. A message from an unknown number. Mira has been withdrawn from the academy. Please do not contact her further. I stare at the screen until it goes dark. I finally understand. The academy didn't just bend for him. It belonged to him. Chapter 4 Sit. Wait. Hector doesn't let go of me until we're inside the clubroom. Not roughly. Not gently either. His hand stays at my back. Guiding me forward like resistance was never an option worth acknowledging. The door closes behind us. He releases me. Then he steps away. Sit, Hector says. I don't move at first. The word isn't loud. It isn't sharp. It's worse than that. It's certain. You asked me to wait, I say carefully. Hector turns to look at me. No, he replies. I told you to. The distinction lands. I sit. Not because my legs give out. Because something in me understands that standing is already defiance. Hector remains where he is, watching me like I'm a problem he's already solved. You intervened today, he says. Someone needed to, I answer. That isn't your role, Hector replies. Then change the roles, I say. For the first time, something flickers across his expression. Interest. He steps closer. Not enough to touch. Enough that the air tightens. You think this place runs on courage, Hector says. It doesn't. Then what does it run on? Ask. Permission, he replies. And scarcity. I don't look away. You let her be expelled, I say. Yes, Hector answers. Why? My voice is steady. Surprises me. Because I wasn't there for her, he says. I was there for you. The words settle slowly, unavoidably. You didn't save me, I say. I repositioned you, Hector replies. He reaches out then, not to touch me, but to lift my phone from where it rests on the table beside me. He turns it over in his hand, then places it back, exactly where it was. You're already inside the system, he continues. You just didn't know who was managing it. I stand. That's the mistake. Hector moves instantly. One step. He's in front of me. Sit, he says again. I hesitate. Not long, but long enough. I won't be handled like this, I say. You already are, he replies. He steps aside, not to let me leave, to show me that he could stop me again, and doesn't need to prove it twice. You're done for today, Hector says. Go. I don't thank him. I don't apologize. I leave. But as I walk away, something settles cold and heavy in my chest. He didn't restrain me. He trained me. And the worst part? I stayed seated longer than I needed to. Chapter 5. When he touches you, the world shrinks. I don't go to the pool to swim. I go because I need space. The club room feels occupied even when it's empty now. The halls feel watched. My body hasn't relaxed since the office, since his hand at my back, since the certainty in his voice. The pool is quiet. Blue light, still water, glass above me like the sky is trapped. I sit on the edge and lower my feet into the water. Cold bites through the fog in my head. For a few minutes I breathe. Then the air changes. I don't turn around. I don't need to. Hector's presence settles behind me like a hand already placed. Hector says, calm and close. You keep choosing places with no exits. I keep my eyes on the water. I answer, you followed me. Hector replies, you led. I hear him step closer. Close enough that I can feel heat at my back. Not touching yet. That restraint feels deliberate. I say, go away. Hector doesn't laugh. He doesn't argue. He reaches down and takes my wrist. This time he doesn't ask. His grip isn't painful. It's secure. Like my wrist fits there. My breath stutters before I can stop it. I say sharper now, don't touch me. Hector tightens his grip just enough for me to feel it. Hector says, I am touching you. He steps closer, crowding me until my back brushes his chest. His free hand comes up and settles at my jaw, thumb pressing just under my lip, tilting my face up, not roughly, possessively. Hector says low, look at me. I don't want to. I do anyway. His face is close, too close. His eyes are steady, intent, like he's been waiting for this exact angle, this exact moment. I say, quietly, this is crossing a line. Hector's mouth curves slightly. Hector replies, no, this is me showing you where it is. Then he kisses me, not soft, not frantic, a slow, claiming press of his mouth against mine that leaves no room for doubt about who initiated it. I freeze. That's the worst part. My body doesn't move fast enough. Hector pulls back just enough to speak against my mouth. Hector says, good boy. The words hit harder than the kiss. My hands clench at my sides. I say, through my teeth, don't call me that. Hector kisses me again, shorter this time, controlled. Then his mouth moves to my cheek, my jaw, just below my ear. Not hurried, intentional. Hector says, you endure so well. You take pressure. You stay. His thumb presses at my jaw again, grounding me in place. Hector continues, that tells me everything I need to know. I force myself to speak. I say, you can't do this. Hector finally steps in front of me, blocking the pool, the exit, the space. His hand remains on my wrist. Hector replies, I can. I am. And no one here will stop me. His gaze drops briefly. My mouth, my throat, then returns to my eyes. Hector says, very clearly, not even you. Something sharp and panicked flares in my chest. I say, "Let go." Hector studies me for a moment. Then slowly he releases my wrist. The loss of contact is almost worse. Hector says, "I don't need to hold you to keep you." He steps back one pace. Just one. Hector adds, "I can have you whenever I want, Rowan. Tonight. Tomorrow. Or when you finally stop pretending this is still your choice." Silence stretches between us. My skin feels too tight. My mouth still tingles where he kissed me. I step away. He doesn't stop me. This time. As I reach the door, Hector's voice follows me, calm and certain. Hector says, "Sleep. You'll come back when you're ready." I leave the pool without looking back. Later, lying awake, I replay his hand at my jaw, his mouth on mine, the certainty in his voice, and the truth settles in, heavy and inescapable. Hector Blackwell didn't touch me because he lost control. He touched me because he wanted me to understand. My body is already part of the territory he's claimed. Part 2, the night he runs. I wake up wrong. Not slow. Not confused. Wrong. There's warmth pressed against me. Too much of it. My body registers it before my mind does. Heat at my back. Wait. A breath close enough that I feel it move the air near my neck. I freeze. Then I realize I can't move. Something solid holds me down. An arm across my middle. A knee pinning my legs. The couch creaks softly beneath us. I inhale sharply. Hector's voice. Low and close. Easy. Panic hits all at once. I twist hard, trying to get my arms free. The movement earns me pressure. Sudden. Overwhelming. As Hector shifts his weight and pins me fully against the couch. I shout, "Get off me!" My voice cracks. Loud. Too loud for this quiet room. Hector's hand comes up, gripping my jaw just long enough to force my face still. His other hand slides over my side, claiming space, not gentle, not careful. Hector says, calm, almost fond, "You sleep so deeply. I wanted to see how much it would take to wake you." Terror floods my chest. I kick, hard, my heel catching the edge of the couch. I twist my shoulders, my nails scraping against fabric, against skin. I scream again. No words this time, just sound. That's when his mouth brushes my neck. Not lingering. Enough to mark the moment. Hector murmurs, "Good boy." Something inside me snaps. I shove with everything I have. My knee comes up. My elbow catches something solid. Hector curses softly. Not in pain, but surprise. And the pressure breaks just enough. I roll off the couch and scramble back, half falling, half running. I scream, "Don't touch me." I don't wait to see his expression. I bolt for the door. It opens. I run. I don't stop running until my lungs burn. I don't know where I'm going. Just away. Away from the clubroom. Away from warmth that wasn't safe. Away from certainty. I end up near the dorms I'm not allowed to live in anymore. Shaking so hard I have to brace myself against the wall. That's when someone grabs my arm. I jerk violently, heart slamming into my throat. A familiar voice, urgent, Hey, Rowan. It's me, Ivan." He steps back immediately, hands raised, eyes wide with concern. Ivan says, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you." I can't speak. My body won't stop shaking. Ivan looks at my face, then my hands, then the way I'm pressed flat against the wall like I'm expecting it to grab me back. Ivan says, softer now, "What happened?" I open my mouth. Nothing comes out. Ivan doesn't push. He just steps closer, slow, careful, and shrugs out of his jacket. Ivan says, "You don't have to tell me, but you shouldn't be alone right now." He holds the jacket out, not touching me, waiting, and for the first time that night I don't feel owned. I take it. Chapter -6. Ivan's door. Ivan doesn't ask questions right away. That's the first thing that tells me he's different. He walks beside me instead of in front of me, matching my pace even when it's uneven. When we reach his building, he unlocks the door and steps back, letting me enter first. Ivan says gently, "You can sit, or shower, or sleep, Whatever you need. I stand there, jacket clutched in my hands, unsure what to do with the quiet. I say hoarse, I can't stay long. Ivan nods like that's fine, like it's not a condition. Ivan replies, you can stay tonight. He doesn't say with me. He doesn't say because I want you to. Just tonight. That makes it easier to breathe. Later, when I'm sitting on the edge of his bed, fully dressed, staring at nothing, Ivan speaks again. Ivan says, carefully, did someone hurt you? I swallow. I answer, yes. He doesn't ask who. He doesn't push. He just moves a little closer, close enough to be felt, not crowded. Ivan says, then you're safe here. For the first time since the club room, my body believes it. Scene 2, Hector notices the absence. Hector notices before morning. The club room is empty. The couch is untouched. The door hasn't opened again. Rowan doesn't come back. That's the first violation. Hector stands in the room for a long time, hands still, expression unreadable. Security waits outside. No one speaks. Finally, Hector takes out his phone. He doesn't raise his voice when he speaks. Hector says, find him. A pause. Hector adds, do not bring him back. Tell me where he chose to go. That distinction matters. Rowan didn't disappear. Rowan ran. And that makes this personal. Part 2, the kiss. Ivan walks me back to campus the next day. I tell him I should keep distance. That it's safer. That things are complicated. Ivan stops walking. Ivan says, you don't look complicated. You look scared. I look away. I say, I am. Ivan's hand comes up slowly, stopping just short of touching my arm. Ivan asks, can I? I nod. That's the difference. His fingers brush my sleeve, warm and careful. Ivan says, you don't belong to anyone who scares you. The words undo something in me. I lean forward before I think better of it. Ivan hesitates just a second, then kisses me. It's gentle, brief, real. For one heartbeat, the world feels normal. Then it breaks. Hector's voice, sharp and cold. Get your hands off him. Ivan turns first. I already know. Hector stands a few feet away, eyes locked on Ivan's hand, still resting on my sleeve. His face is calm. Too calm. Ivan says, carefully, this isn't your. Hector moves. Fast. He grabs Ivan by the collar and slams him into the wall. Hard. The sound echoes. I shout, Hector, stop. Security freezes. No one intervenes. Hector doesn't look at Ivan when he speaks. He looks at me. Hector says, low and furious, you ran, and then you let him touch you. Ivan struggles, coughing. Ivan yells, he doesn't belong to you. Hector finally turns his head. His smile is thin, dangerous. Hector replies, that's where you're wrong. He releases Ivan abruptly. Ivan stumbles but stays on his feet. Hector takes one step toward me. Hector says, come here. I don't move. The air goes very still. Hector's voice drops even lower. Hector continues. Now. I hesitate. Ivan reaches for my hand. That's the mistake. Hector snaps. He grabs my wrist and yanks me back against his chest, one arm locking me in place. Hector says, in my ear, you don't get to choose replacements. His grip tightens just enough to hurt. Hector adds, if you wanted comfort, you should have stayed where I put you. Ivan shouts my name. Hector doesn't look at him again. He drags me away. This time I don't fight, because I finally understand what the kiss cost. If you're into dark stories, the kind that make people pause and ask, are you okay? You're in the right place, because that's what we do. Like, share, comment. You know the drill, and the algorithm feeds on devotion. Chapter 7. From the hallway to the club room. Hector doesn't ask me to come with him. His hand closes around my wrist and pulls. Not violently, not gently, with intent. I stumble half a step, then catch myself, but he doesn't slow. His grip tightens just enough to make it clear that matching his pace is no longer optional. People see us. They look away. That's when the fear really settles in. I say, breathless, let go of me. Hector doesn't turn his head. Hector replies, calm and low, walk. We don't argue in the hallway. He doesn't need to. By the time we reach the clubroom, my pulse is loud in my ears and my skin feels too tight, like it's already bracing for something. The door opens. He pulls me inside, closes behind us. Part 2, the clubroom. The moment the door shuts, Hector pushes me forward. Not into the wall, onto the couch. I land hard enough to knock the breath from my lungs. Before I can sit up, he's on me. His weight pins my hips. One knee settles between my legs, anchoring me in place. His hand comes down on my chest, firm and unyielding, keeping me flat against the cushions. I shout, get off me. I twist, trying to roll, trying to shove him away. It doesn't work. Hector adjusts once, just once, and suddenly I can't move at all. My wrist is caught above my head, pinned to the couch. My other arm is trapped beneath his weight. The control is precise. That's worse than brute force. Hector says, close and even, you run very badly. I buck hard, panic flooding my chest. I yell, you don't get to touch me. Hector leans down just enough that I feel his breath near my ear. Hector replies, I already am. His free hand slides deliberately, not groping, not searching, just claiming space, reminding my body where he is, where I am. I kick, heel scraping uselessly against the couch. Hector says, stop. I don't. Hector continues, colder now, you're wasting energy. His grip tightens for half a second, not to hurt, but to end the fight. My resistance falters. Not because I agree, because my muscles start to shake. He waits, counts my breathing without saying a word. Only when I'm still, tense, furious, trapped, does he move. He releases my wrist. Then he sits back slightly, the pressure easing but not disappearing. Hector says, good. You felt that. I shove myself upright the moment I can. I snap, do that again and I'll. Hector stands. One step. The room goes quiet. Hector says, you will do nothing. Because now you know how easily I can put you back where I want you. My chest heaves. I hate that he's right. Hector adds, softer, more dangerous. Next time, I won't need to pin you. You'll stop on your own. Something breaks loose in my throat. I scream. Not words. Sound. I bolt for the door. This time he doesn't stop me. That's the worst part. Chapter 8. Bruises are inconvenient. I don't go back to the clubroom. I don't go back to Ivan. I don't go anywhere that feels like a place someone might look for me. I sleep in spaces meant to be passed through. A stairwell between floors. An unlocked seminar room with no windows. Places that don't remember bodies. My body remembers anyway. The bruises surface slowly, like they're thinking about it first. Purple along my wrists. Yellow blooming at my ribs. A deep ache in my hip that flares when I walk too fast. I cover everything. Long sleeves. Careful movements. My head down. I tell myself this is still control. The bar is loud that night. Hot. Crowded. Men with money and entitlement lean too close, their eyes lingering like they're trying to decide something. I ignore it. I always do. Halfway through my shift, a hand closes around my arm near the storage room. Too familiar. Too confident. You look like you need a break, the man says, smiling. I pull back. Move. He doesn't. How much? He asks, like it's a joke we're both in on. Cold spreads through my chest. Get your hand off me. He laughs. The door shuts. The world narrows to impact and breath and the taste of blood. It's quick. Efficient. Like he knows exactly how far he can go. When it's over, I stay on the floor until my vision clears. When I stagger out, the manager won't meet my eyes. You should go home, he says. Not are you okay? Not what happened. Just go. I do. Hector is waiting outside. Of course he is. I don't see him at first. I feel him the way the air changes when something decisive enters the space. He's standing under the awning, coat immaculate, posture relaxed like he's been there for a while, like he timed it. His gaze goes straight to my wrists, then my mouth, then the way I'm favoring one leg. Hector says, quietly, You're bleeding. I don't answer. Hector repeats, Rowan. I reply, flat, it doesn't matter. That's when I know I've made a mistake. Hector steps closer. Not touching. Never touching in public. Hector says, everything that happens to you matters. I try to step past him. He shifts, a small adjustment, and the path closes. Hector continues, calm and exact. He offered you money. My stomach drops. I say carefully, you weren't there. Hector's mouth curves faintly. Not a smile. Hector replies, no, I was watching. The word lands like a weight. I snap, you don't own me. Hector looks at me for a long moment. Not angry, evaluating. Then he reaches into his coat and holds out his phone. I don't want to look. I do anyway. An article. Timestamped 30 minutes ago. Liquor license suspended pending investigation. Bar closed indefinitely. My bar. Hector says, you don't work there anymore. My hands start to shake. I ask, did you do this? Hector answers, I corrected an oversight. I say, that was how I survived. Hector replies, it was how you were accessed. He steps closer, lowering his voice so only I can hear. Hector adds, I warned you about unsecured places. You didn't listen. Anger flashes hot and reckless. I say, you don't get to rewrite my life. Hector's gaze sharpens, not with rage but focus. Hector says, your life was already being rewritten. I just took control of the pen. The words hollow me out. Hector continues, you won't work. You won't sleep where I can't see you. You won't be alone with men who think pain buys access. I whisper, and if I refuse? Hector tilts his head slightly, considering. Hector replies, then next time I won't arrive after. I'll arrive before. Fear crawls up my spine. I say, horse, this isn't protection. Hector steps close enough that I can smell him. Clean, controlled, certain. Hector murmurs, it is when I'm the only variable. He straightens. The decision is already made. Hector concludes, pack a bag. You're coming with me. I ask, barely, where? Hector's eyes flick once more to my bruised wrist, then back to my face. Hector says, somewhere no one gets to hurt you without my permission. I don't move. I say, I won't go. Hector doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't threaten. He waits, counts my breathing like he's already learned the rhythm. Hector replies, you will, because I've already removed every other place you could stand. That's when I understand. The bar wasn't the punishment. The beating wasn't the lesson. Isolation was. I nod once, not because I agree, because I finally see the shape of the cage. Hector turns away, already confident in the outcome. I follow, and the thought settles heavy and undeniable in my chest. He didn't close the world to trap me. He closed it so he'd be the only thing left inside it. Chapter 9, moving in. Hector doesn't ask me to pack much. That should have warned me. He watches while I move through the small space I've been sleeping in. My bag, my clothes, the few things I've learned to carry light because nothing ever stays mine for long. Hector says, calmly, leave the rest. I answer, I might need it. Hector tilts his head, considering me. Hector replies, you won't. The certainty in his voice makes my chest tighten. We don't talk on the drive. I watch the city slide past the window, familiar streets blurring into neighborhoods I don't recognize. The further we go, the quieter it gets. Security gates, long drives, distance that feels deliberate. His place isn't a house. It's a compound pretending to be one. Clean lines, controlled light, too much space that somehow still feels narrow. The door closes behind us. It sounds final. The first thing Hector does is take my bag. Not roughly, not dismissively, like it's obvious. He sets it down where I can't reach it easily. Hector says, you'll stay here tonight. I ask, where? Hector gestures vaguely. Hector replies, with me. My stomach drops. I say, immediately, no. He looks at me for a long moment, not surprised. Hector says, "You're already here." I take a step back. He doesn't follow. That's worse. I say, "You can't just decide this." Hector's gaze sharpens, not with anger but focus. Hector replies, "I didn't decide tonight. I decided when you kept surviving things you shouldn't have." The words land like a weight on my chest. I say, "Horse, this isn't care." Hector steps closer. Not touching yet. Hector answers, "No, this is containment." The room he takes me to is too large, too quiet. The bed is massive, untouched, like it's been waiting for a purpose. He closes the door behind us. Slowly. Hector says, "You're shaking." I reply, "Because you don't stop." Hector reaches out. This time he does touch me. His hand settles at my waist, firm, grounding, unmistakably claiming space. I flinch. He doesn't pull away. Hector says, quietly, "Look at you. Still fighting. Still here." I try to step back. The bed stops me. His other hand comes up, bracing beside my head, caging me in without pinning me down. I whisper, "Don't." Hector leans in, close enough that his breath brushes my cheek. Hector murmurs, "You don't want me to stop. You want me to decide." Something breaks then. Not loudly. Internally. My thoughts scatter. My body reacts before I can catch up. My hands curl into the fabric of his shirt without permission. I hate myself for it. I say, voice shaking, "This isn't consent." Hector replies, just as softly, "No, it's surrender." He kisses me, not frantic, not desperate, slow, consuming, inevitable. The world narrows to heat, pressure, his presence eclipsing everything else. When he guides me down onto the bed, it feels less like falling and more like being placed. Time blurs after that. I don't remember when my clothes stop being a barrier. I don't remember when resistance turns into stillness. I only remember the weight of him, the way my body stops fighting before my mind does, the way he keeps murmuring my name like it's something he owns. When it's over, I stare at the ceiling, numb and hollow. Hector's arm is around me, possessive, unapologetic. Hector says, quietly, "Sleep. I'll be here when you wake up." That's what finally cracks me. Not what he did. What he promises. I wake up in the same bed. That's the first rule. I don't know when it became one. My clothes are folded neatly on a chair. Fresh ones wait beside them. Breakfast appears without me asking. My phone is charged. Messages are gone. Missed calls erased. My schedule rewritten. Hector says later, as if it's casual, "You don't leave without telling me. You eat when I tell you to. You sleep here." I ask hollow, "And if I don't?" Hector looks at me like I've misunderstood something simple. Hector replies, "You will." Days pass. Or maybe it's one long day that never ends. Sex becomes routine. Not disgust. Expected. Sometimes I resist. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I lie there and dissociate so hard I feel like I'm watching someone else being held, kissed, used, soothed. Hector always notices. Hector says, calmly, "Come back. Stay with me." And I do. Because fighting costs more now. Because leaving means nothing is left. Because somewhere along the way my world shrank until he filled it completely. And the most terrifying thought of all settles quietly in my chest. I don't know when being kept turned into being depended on. Chapter 10, You Don't Earn Touch. I learned the new rule by breaking it. It isn't written down. It isn't spoken ahead of time. It's enforced. Hector takes me to an event. Not a date. Not an invitation. A function. Faculty. Donors. People whose names make doors open faster. I'm dressed carefully, too carefully. Clothes chosen for me. Fitted. Clean. Neutral enough not to invite comment. Expensive enough to signal something unspoken. I stand beside him. That's where I'm meant to be. Hands at my sides. Posture straight. Silent. People look at me the way they look at valuable things they don't recognize yet. A woman asks, smiling, "Are you a student?" Hector answers before I can. Hector says, calmly, he's with me. The conversation moves on. I don't exist independently. That's the point. It happens when someone laughs too loudly behind us. I flinch. Just a little. Reflex. Hector notices. Of course he does. His hand comes to my lower back. Not possessive, not intimate. Corrective. Fingers pressing lightly, reminding me where to stand, how to hold myself. I hate that my body adjusts instantly. Later, when he leans close, his mouth barely brushes my ear. Hector murmurs, still jumpy. I whisper, you don't get to comment on my body. His hand presses harder for half a second. Not painful, deliberate. Hector replies, everything about you is body. That's why this works. Heat crawls up my spine. Not desire, not exactly. Something worse. Awareness. Exposure. I clench my jaw and say nothing. That's mistake number 1. Back home, I don't wait for permission. I turn to face him. I say, tight, don't touch me in public like that. The room goes very still. Hector takes his time removing his coat, folding it, setting it aside. Control in every movement. Then he looks at me. Really looks. Hector says, you don't decide when you're touched. I feel anger surge, hot and reckless. I snap. You don't get to humiliate me. Hector steps closer. Slowly. Hector replies, that wasn't humiliation. He stops an inch from me. Hector continues, that was restraint. I swallow. I say, quieter now. I didn't ask for this. Hector's gaze drops. Not to my face, but to my mouth, my throat, the tension in my shoulders. He doesn't touch. That's intentional. Hector says, you want touch when you're angry. It makes you feel real. The words hit too close. I say, you don't know what I want. Hector smiles. Not kind. Satisfied. Hector replies, I know exactly what you want. That's why you're not getting it. Something in my chest fractures. I whisper, you're punishing me. Hector answers, I'm correcting you. He steps back, creates distance, takes everything with him. Hector adds, you don't earn closeness by defying me. You earn it by learning when to be quiet. The denial is physical, immediate. My body feels wrong without the pressure, the presence, the certainty I hate myself for craving. I don't move. I don't speak. That's mistake number 2. Days pass like this. He watches me dress. Doesn't touch. He stands close enough that I can feel him. Doesn't touch. He corrects me with words instead of hands. Hector says, posture. Breathe. Still. I obey. Not because I want to, because my body has learned that denial hurts worse than restraint. One night, I break. I step into his space. I say, shaking, if you're going to control me, then don't stop halfway. Silence. Hector looks at me like I've offered him something dangerous. Hector replies, that's you begging. I snap, no, that's me asking you to be honest. Hector steps in close enough that my breath stutters. His hand rises, stops, hovering. Hector says, quietly, you don't get honesty yet. You get discipline. His hand drops. He turns away, leaves me standing there, exposed, furious, aching with something I refuse to name. Later, alone in the dark, the realization crawls through me, slow and humiliating. He isn't denying me to be cruel. He's denying me because wanting him is becoming leverage. And he's teaching me, patiently, obsessively, that even my desire belongs to him. If you like stories that don't just cross the line, but erase it completely, the kind that make silence feel loud, and morality feel optional, welcome home. Like, share, comment, because the algorithm loves chaos almost as much as you do. Chapter 11, Public Obedience. Hector takes me out again. That's how I know this isn't over. Not to punish me, to display me. I'm dressed the same way as before, neutral, expensive, deliberate. The kind of clothing that tells people I'm not available for interpretation. I don't choose any of it. He walks half a step ahead of me. That distance matters. It means I follow without being led. The room is full of voices and laughter and soft music. I recognize faces, professors, administrators, donors, people who once looked at me like I was invisible. Now they look once, then away. Hector places a hand at the small of my back. Not gripping, not intimate, directive. I straighten immediately. I hate that my body does it without permission. Hector murmurs, close to my ear, "Good." The word sinks into me like a hook. Someone approaches. A man with too much confidence and a practiced smile. The man says, "Blackwell, always a pleasure." Hector replies, "Likewise." The man's eyes flick to me. The man asks, "And this is?" Hector doesn't look at me when he answers. Hector says, "Mine." The word lands. Not claimed loudly. Not defended. Stated. The man nods and moves on. I don't breathe until he's gone. My hands curl slowly at my sides. I whisper, "You didn't have to say it like that." Hector's fingers press lightly into my back. "Enough to still me." Hector replies, "I said it exactly as intended. We move through the room like this. Stop, stand, turn, follow." Each correction is subtle. A touch to my elbow. A shift of his shoulder blocking my view. A quiet word when my attention drifts. Hector says, "Eyes forward. Don't fidget. Breathe." I obey. Every time. The humiliation isn't loud. It's precise. By the end of the night, my jaw aches from how tightly I've held it closed. My body feels hollowed out like I've been standing in place for hours while something else decided who I was allowed to be. When we leave, he doesn't touch me at all. That's worse. Back home, I finally snap. I say, sharp and shaking, "You turned me into a thing." Hector removes his watch carefully, sets it down. Only then does he look at me. Hector replies, "No, I showed you what you already were." My chest tightens. I say, "I'm not your property." Hector steps closer. Not invading, inviting collapse. Hector says, "Then stop responding like you are." I have no answer, because my body already did. Chapter 12, Begging Without Words. I don't beg out loud. That's important. I still tell myself that. It starts with small things. Waiting near him instead of across the room. Watching his hands when he speaks. Standing still longer than necessary, just in case he notices. He does. He always does. He withholds touch longer now. Days. Sometimes longer. The absence becomes physical. A pressure that doesn't ease. When he passes close enough that his sleeve brushes my arm, my breath stutters. I hate myself for it. Hector says, one evening, "You're unfocused." I answer stiff, "I'm fine." He studies me. Hector replies, "Liar." That night, I lie awake beside him, staring at the ceiling, every nerve awake and aching. His presence is overwhelming even without contact. I turn my head slightly, not enough to touch, enough to signal. He doesn't move. Hector says, quietly, "You're doing it again." I whisper, "Doing what?" Hector answers, asking without speaking. Shame burns hot through my chest. I say, barely audible, "I'm not." Hector rolls onto his side, facing me. Close. Close enough that I feel his breath. Hector says, "You are." Your body asks before your mouth does. I clench my fists in the sheets. I say, "Then stop watching me." Hector's gaze doesn't soften. It sharpens. Hector replies, "I won't." That's the point. Silence stretches. I turn toward him despite myself. That's when it breaks. Not all at once. Just enough. I whisper, shaking, "If you're going to control me, don't leave me like this." The words hang in the air. Exposed. Unprotected. Hector doesn't touch me. Not immediately. He lets the shame settle. Hector says, finally, "That wasn't a demand." I answer hoarse, "I know." Hector replies, "Say it properly." My throat tightens. I can't. I don't. Instead, I shift closer. Close enough that my knee brushes his. That's my answer. Hector exhales slowly. Then his hand comes to my waist. Firm. Possessive. Claiming. Not gentle. Not cruel. Certain. Hector says, low and satisfied, "There it is." My body melts toward the contact before I can stop it. He pulls me in. Not to take. To own the moment. To close my eyes. Not because I want to. Because I don't want to see myself doing this. Later, long after my thoughts blur and my resistance dissolves into quiet compliance, one truth settles in with devastating clarity. I didn't beg because I was weak. I begged because he taught me that silence was louder than words. And he was listening the whole time. Chapter 13. Ivan vanishes. Ivan disappears on a Tuesday. That's how ordinary it is. No announcement. No scandal. No whispers loud enough to catch. He's just gone. His seat in class is empty. His name is missing from the roster. When I search the system, it returns an error. Not withdrawn. Not expelled. Invalid. Like he was never enrolled. I stare at the screen longer than necessary. My chest doesn't hurt. That scares me more than if it had. When I ask Hector about it, I don't phrase it like a challenge. That's new too. I say, "Ivan isn't here." Hector doesn't look up from what he's doing. Hector replies, "No." I ask, "Where did he go?" Silence. Then, Hector says, "He stopped being relevant." The words should devastate me. Instead, they land with a strange, hollow clarity. I say, carefully, "Did you do something to him?" Hector finally looks at me. Really looks. Hector replies, "I removed interference." I nod once. That's all. Not because I agree. Because I understand the rule now. Hope doesn't die loudly here. It gets edited out. That night, I realize something worse than grief. I don't picture Ivan's face anymore. I picture the space he used to occupy. Empty. Uncontested. Chapter 14. The soft dom breaks quietly. The change doesn't happen all at once. It never does. I stop being escorted. Not because Hector loosens control. Because I don't need it. Doors open when I approach. Security nods instead of blocking my path. Administrators answer my emails within minutes. People start asking me questions. At first, it's subtle. A professor hesitates before correcting me. A student moves aside in the hallway. Someone lowers their voice when I enter a room. I notice it. I just don't comment on it. Hector doesn't introduce me anymore. He doesn't have to. At events, people already know who I am. Not my name, my position. I stand beside him, no longer half a step behind. Equal height. Equal silence. Someone once asks me, smiling nervously, "Are you with Blackwell?" I answer before Hector can. I say, "Yes." The simplicity of it shuts the conversation down completely. Later, when we're alone, Hector studies me. Hector says, "You've adapted." I reply, "I learned." Hector answers, pleased, "Good." The soft dom doesn't disappear. He refines. I stop reacting. I start deciding. When someone speaks over me, I don't raise my voice. I wait. They falter. When someone tries to touch me casually, I step back once. They apologize. I don't forgive them. I don't need to. One night, Hector corrects someone in front of me. I stop him. Just a hand on his wrist. Light. Intentional. The room goes silent. Hector looks at me. Not angry. Curious. I say evenly, "It's handled." The person pales. Hector watches my face for a long moment. Then he lets go. Hector replies, softly, "It is now." Afterward, alone, he studies me like he's seeing the final result of something he started. Hector says, "You don't hesitate anymore." I answer, "Neither do you." That makes him smile. The worst realization comes later. Quiet. Unavoidable. I don't think about leaving. Not because I can't, but because I don't know what version of myself would walk out. The academy bends when I pass through it now. Not because of Hector, because of me. And when I finally understand that, truly understand it, something cold and steady settles into my bones. I didn't survive him. I evolved inside him. Time kept passing, so did Rowan's life. Mornings are quiet now. Rowan reads at the table while I review documents. He drinks his tea the same way every day. 2 sugars. No rush. When staff enter the room, they greet him first. That wasn't my instruction. That was instinct. Rowan doesn't comment on it. He doesn't need to. Sometimes, when he finishes reading, he reaches over and straightens my cuff. A small correction. Intimate. Public enough to be noticed. People pretend not to see it. They always do. Later, when we're alone, he'll say something mild. You missed a detail. He's usually right. The house runs on his rhythms now. So does the academy. So does everything that matters. If he ever left me, the world wouldn't change. That's how I know this isn't ownership. It's alignment. Rowan doesn't belong to me. He belongs wherever power settles. And power, inevitably, settled in him. Epilogue I, outsider POV, the one who learned too late. No one warns you about Rowan Blackwell. They warn you about Hector. So when I was assigned to liaise with the donor office, I expected arrogance, cruelty, power plays. I didn't expect the quiet one. Rowan never raises his voice. He doesn't interrupt. He listens like he's cataloging you. The first time I spoke out of turn in a meeting, he didn't correct me. He just looked at me. Not angry, not displeased, interested. After that, my project lost funding. No explanation, no appeal. The email was polite, final. I tried to ask Hector about it. Hector smiled. You should have watched Rowan's face, he said. That was the moment you stopped existing. Now, when Rowan enters a room, people adjust before he asks. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't punish publicly. He remembers. And somehow that's worse. Epilogue 2, Hector's POV. I didn't cage him. They think I broke him. They always think that. I watched them whisper it at events. In offices. Behind polite smiles. Poor boy. He survived you. You ruined him. Idiots. Rowan was never meant to be small. He endured because no one had given him a structure worthy of him. I didn't cage Rowan. I removed noise. I removed interference. I removed choices that were wasting him. What he became was inevitable. The first time he stopped me with a touch, light, deliberate, I understood. He wasn't asking. He was informing. That was the moment I knew I'd succeeded. People think power is taken. They're wrong. Power is recognized. And Rowan learned to recognize himself. I didn't crown him. I just made sure there was no one else left to argue. They believed the marriage was my decision. That mistake made it effortless. There was no proposal, no question, no performance of choice. The documents were prepared before anyone thought to object. The board approved it unanimously. They called it protection. Rowan stood beside me while I signed. When I handed him the pen, he didn't hesitate. That was the moment I knew this wasn't submission. It was calculation. This changes things, someone said. Rowan looked up, calm as ever. No, he replied. It finalizes them. After that, the academy stopped asking which of us to obey. Authority didn't split. It aligned. I didn't marry Rowan to keep him. I married him because the system required a single center. And now, when they say Blackwell, they mean him,